All right. I knew this was going to happen at some point, you know? I've been reading One Piece a really long time now. If you've been reading One Piece for a decent amount of years, you could probably have arrived at this conclusion too. Luffy's fought against a lot of really powerful opponents over the years, ladies and gentlemen. We've had Arlong, Crocodile, Foxy, the Silver Fox himself, but I'll tell you what, it all culminates at this, right? Luffy's going to have to punch out the ocean. Now listen, I know right away, just in terms of weight class, the ocean has Luffy outmatched, but you do not put Straw Hat Luffy down in the undercard or the underbelt. I don't know. I don't watch wrestling or boxing or any kind of martial art. You don't put him as the underdog, I'll tell you that much, okay? So we're going to give Luffy about 1 day prep time for this. 1 day prep time. He's going to have to go fight the literal embodiment, the avatar of the ocean, okay? So, let's see. Well, obviously, we got to give Luffy an afro. Oh my god, Luffy gear 5th with an afro. Luffy doesn't even need to put the afro on. He could just mold his whole head to look like an afro. Okay, so we got Afro Luffy plus gear 5th. He might be able to take the ocean. All right, here we go. One Piece. Final battle. Luffy faces the ocean. All right, so, it just goes up to the water and just like, okay, ocean, you're my last opponent now. He just punched in the water. Okay, so, I should probably clarify right out of the gate, because I feel like some people might already be leaving the comments. Like, Matt, you do know that it wasn't confirmed that an actual ocean god existed in the last chapter, right? You understand that Vegapunk was maybe being a little bit facetious or a little bit like, you know, just like, oh, Mother Ocean, Mother Nature despises devil fruits, that's why they can't swim. That doesn't mean Vegapunk literally confirmed the existence of a sea god. Like, I know that, I know, but this is something that has been discussed before in One Piece. I just want to explore this particular avenue of it, okay? And in the same chapter, Vegapunk even goes on to say that, like, you know, whether or not gods exist, whether or not you want to believe in a god of this world or a pantheon of gods, that's up to you. I mean, I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that I'm a scientist, okay? I study the effect. I study what the world is that we live in right now. Maybe there are gods up there that shaped everything, and there is a Mother Ocean, and she does do all this kind of stuff, but that's not really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the world I live in right now and trying to find out as much about it. It's a wonderful world that we live in, truly. Also, there was the official translation that came out on Viz that didn't exactly, it's not like completely different, but the wording of exactly how devil fruits come about is not the same exact way as the first translation, which was all about desire. Desire is still used as a word, but I'll just read it to you right now. Every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. All of those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity. The unnatural status is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature. So we're going to be talking about that there as like an actual concept. We'll see where it goes. And so he also goes on to say it's a fitting punishment for their sins. Those with powers exist in different dimensions, dreamed up by someone else before them, okay? So now we're getting, like, the concept of dreams into it. It's definitely very, I've used the word metaphysical so many times in the last video, I really don't want to keep doing that. It is a fun word to say, but it's one of those words where if you just keep using it, it kind of loses its meaning. Like, this is metaphysical, look how everything is so metaphysical. It's more figurative, let's use that word, okay? Like, how about that, all right? So, we'll maybe get more into, like, devil fruit origins later, but I want to talk about the sea god thing, okay? And if Oda was going to go that direction with it, how exactly would it be handled? Now, ocean deities have been mentioned before in the story. Remember at the beginning of Thriller Bark when they were sailing into the Florian Triangle for the first time, like right on the periphery of it, and they found that barrel floating in the water, and it had like a big banner on it, and it was like an offering to the sea gods, okay? And, you know, that turned out to be nothing more than a trap set by Moria to send up the flare so that they found out where the Straw Hats were, and then Thriller Bark could, like, you know, take them in and everything like that. That was obviously a trick. However, it was common knowledge kind of in the world of One Piece that this is a practice that people do. People will often thank the sea, thank Mother Ocean, I guess. Actually, you know what? It could honestly be both. It could, just because there's a concept of Mother Sea does not mean there has to be like a literal sea goddess, you know, like anything like that. It could literally just be like, we must thank the sea and hope its waters stay stable and not too raucous or anything like that. It doesn't send massive storms that like wipe out our ships or our fishing vessels, you know, and anyone that goes out to sea is safe. And so in order to assure that, we will prepare an offering of booze and then put it in a barrel and then send it out afloat into the vast ocean, and hopefully that will quell the sea. Maybe the sea as a concept is just a raw force of nature, or maybe there are some cultures in the One Piece world that do worship a literal sea god. You know, it's something that Oda does not touch upon very often, like how religion works in the One Piece world, and it actually might be on purpose on why he doesn't do that, just because the world government rules everything. Maybe like organized religion of that nature might actually be frowned upon because you're supposed to be worshiping the Tenryubito, because the Tenryubito literally set themselves up as gods. Like, they refer to themselves in that capacity. They refer to where they live as the upper realm and then the lower realm. Okay, so they definitely believe themselves to be gods. There might be like the first born church of the Tenryubito might exist in the One Piece world. We've just never really learned much about it because the Straw Hats really don't care. You know, I don't see Luffy as really being interested in religious studies or theology, you know what I mean? So it's just not relevant to the story, so we never go there with it. But maybe there are certain cults or certain religious groups in the One Piece world that do worships like some kind of sea god, maybe the old gods of yore or whatever like that. But they kind of have to keep it on the down low because they don't want the world government to really know about it. Maybe it is something like that. But anyway, yeah, either way, like either like quelling the sea with an offering as like just a raw force of nature, or like an actual being that there's like, oh, there's the sea goddess Neptunia. We must always quell Neptunia or something like that. I'm not sure, okay? But the practice does exist because like Nami and everybody and Robin knew about this practice of setting an offering to the sea, okay? So there's that. Then at the end of Thriller Bark, coincidentally enough, there's also those giant eldritch beings that are like floating in the Florian Triangle. And if you want to look at it a certain way, it's like, okay, this arc began, like the first chapter of this arc started with an explanation about sea gods, and then it literally ends the last chapter of Thriller Bark with giant eldritch beings floating in the fog. Just like, whoa, that are like several times larger than like usual sea kings that we see, several times larger than like giants or even ancient giants or even giants like San Juan Wolf that has a devil fruit that makes him even more giant. I mean, these things were on the scale of Zunisha, you know, if not even taller than that possibly, you know what I mean? Like this was insane. So it makes people wonder. It makes people wonder whether or not like a sea goddess is actually going to be at play here in the story, okay? So, I want to talk about just from, not so much like if there is a sea god, will Luffy fight her or something like that. Although that also leads to a theory revolving around Im-sama. Is Im-sama actually like a god? All right, you know, because we know nothing about Im, and I'm just saying, like, if you were gonna throw out the idea that Im is like maybe not a straight up god, but like the avatar of a god or like a demigod or something like that of the ocean or something, and that being is the one that truly leads the world government, I mean, that would explain a lot of things. That would explain their raw power and why everybody just bows before them, the Gorosei, you know, and that also explains why they wouldn't want the existence of this being to get out into the world. That would explain the control over the ancient weapons. If that is the case, maybe this being can just control the ancient weapons or create ancient weapons and do things of that nature. How was Im controlling the device that destroyed the Lelousia kingdom? What we can assume is the ancient weapon Uranos, or maybe some variation therein, some giant, you know, F-off laser cannon from space. You know, how was Im controlling that thing? Was Im there with like an Atari 2600 joystick, like, all right, I'm going to destroy the Lelousia kingdom, just, okay, just beep, you know, or was it like a mental kind of thing, which is like, I will use my godly powers. Ooh. something of that nature. I mean, it could be, right? So that is a theory, and if that is the case, I mean, obviously we have to have Luffy fight Eam then. Like, if Eam turns out to be a demigod, like, okay, especially since Luffy is now referred to as the sun god Nika, there you go, right there. There's the ultimate final battle of One Piece. It all comes... Hey, listen, I've played more than my fair share of Final Fantasy games, okay? Actually, I've played... Oh, wait, okay, hold on. Okay, I finished one. I finished one Final Fantasy game, and that was Final Fantasy X, all right? I played a little bit of 7, played a little bit of 8. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. All right. I played one Final Fantasy game, so I know. Well, okay. On top of that, though, I've also played in the larger genre of JRPGs. I've played, like, Persona, okay? So I know how this all goes down, all right? We start off with our plucky main character fighting against opponents that really aren't that powerful, and then eventually, at the culmination of their adventure, they have to punch out God in the face. I understand how this works, okay? Look at Persona 5. The first villain is a gym teacher, and that involves, to the god of creation, Yaldabaoth or whatever, and then, Joker shoots a god in the face. There you go. Like, that's how it goes. So, a lot of ways in terms of, like, long-running fiction, also, you have to keep, like, ratcheting up the excitement, the danger, okay, to really, like, get the sense of, like, fear into the characters, just like, oh, we're not just fighting against your average Saiyan warrior anymore, now we're getting stronger and stronger, it's like, now you face a literal god, got to get that fear and that trepidation going, just like, oh, we're facing a god, how are we supposed to defeat this thing? And it's like, it's okay, guys, it's okay. We'll take turns fighting it, and it'll take turns attacking us. We'll be okay, So, would this work for One Piece, though, is the question. Would Oda go this direction with it, where it's like, okay, Luffy's punched out Crocodile, Rob Lucci, Doflamingo, now Kaido, he's taken out one of the Yonko. The only way to go higher than this is to literally bring gods into the mix, all right? Like, actual literal gods, and Luffy's gonna have to fight one. I feel like in a lot of fiction, as an endgame sort of, oh no, what the hell are we going to do kind of moment, relying on the whole god angle is maybe a little bit cliche. I'm not saying that in a negative. I'm not saying that, like, every time this is done in a story, it's therefore just exhausting and like, just boring, because it isn't. There's a lot of ways you can spin that, especially in a story where maybe at the beginning gods were never really mentioned or addressed at all, and then at the end it's like, oh no, gods are real, now they're getting involved with everything. It's like in some kind of big apocalyptic kind of moment, it's like, oh, all right, this could work, and it really brings up the danger of, like, okay, this is like end of the world, maybe end of the universe level stakes that we're now dealing with, okay? But the way it's usually utilized, at least this is in my experience reading stories about this, is often when you do get gods involved, those gods will often take the form of humans, and will also often exhibit faults that humans exhibit as well, which begins to make you question of, like, okay, so you're a god, but you have these very obvious flaws and everything like that, and obviously those flaws are going to be what the main characters exploit in order to defeat you, kind of thing like that. And I don't know, it kind of lessens the big bombastic thing for me. I want to make a few references, but, like, the first one that comes to mind immediately is Mistborn, but I don't want to spoil it because that stuff doesn't really happen until the Hero of Ages, which is the last book of the first Mistborn trilogy, so I don't want to just start talking about stuff that happens in the final book of a trilogy if you haven't read it, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm saying that there are ways you can do this. If Oda was going to do this, I want him to do it in a way where this does actually seem like some insurmountable challenge. And I honestly probably would not want the final battle to be Luffy versus a literal god. As awesome as that sounds, as cool as that would be, for Luffy to, like, punch out an actual god, which he kind of already did at Skypiea. We already kind of had that in the story. I really wouldn't want it to be in that. I wouldn't want One Piece to end with that, to culminate in that sort of finale. Not really. Let's back up a bit, though, and talk about how this goes. So often, when you're talking about fiction, and gods are going to play a role in your story, those gods are, whether or not because like they take that form willingly or they always have that form, they will take a human appearance or an appearance that's similar enough to humanity. Okay. And this is something that is usually done by the author of choice, just being able to express, emotions a little bit easier, body language, because, we're all humans and we're all used to how humans express emotion, whether it through, voice or facial expressions or body language, that kind of stuff, right? So, like, if somebody's angry, they look like this. Grr, I'm angry. If someone looks sad, they look like this. I'm sad. If someone looks happy, they look like this, It's easier to convey that if you're going to be like, okay, I will draw the god of lightning. But the god of lightning, he might have some really badass armor and like a giant staff and like a shield with a lightning bolt on it. And maybe he'll have wings and maybe he'll be flanked by a bunch of clouds, like storm clouds constantly. And I'm just basically kind of describing, well, I'm a little bit of Raiden in here. Okay, he has a cool hat, but at the end of the day, the god of lightning is still going to be human. So you can kind of look into the god of lightning's eyes, his glowing blue eyes, and you can see when he's pissed. You can see when he's going to lay down judgment. You can see when he's kind. You can tell by his body movements and things like that because we understand that. It's kind of the same thing like in other types of fiction like sci-fi with aliens. How aliens are usually shown with, not all aliens, obviously. There are aliens that are like amorphous blobs or whatever that don't have any bearings of similarity to human beings. But a lot of times you'll have aliens, like look back at the old Star Trek. And obviously that was done for budget constraints. And obviously in a live action format, it's different from fiction where you can like draw, like manga, for example. So in like the old school Star Trek, though, you would just have like, oh, here's an alien with green skin. Like, they're aliens. I mean, they're just human beings painted green, but it's an alien, right? Okay. And, even if they did have the budget to make an alien, even later on with like Doctor Who, when Doctor Who and like the new series does have a bigger budget, and they do make aliens that are a little bit more alien-esque, not just all humans, at the end of the day, most of them, not all of them, there are aliens in Doctor Who that are like, you don't look like humans at all, but a lot of times when these aliens are very prominent and you want to understand how they express their emotions, what they're feeling right now, they will have that human appearance. Like, look at the Oo in Doctor Who. The Ood are like aliens that have like, they're human bodies, but they have like squid faces. So they don't have like a normal human mouth. They have just like, tentacles and stuff coming out of their face. Okay, but they still have eyes. You can still look at an Ood and tell like what they're feeling generally, even though they don't speak like normal humans, even if they don't have a human mouth. They're still similar enough to humans that you can tell. Dragon Ball, for example, we have Namekians, we have Saiyans, we have Frieza's race. All are aliens. They're not humans, but they all still look enough like humans that you can read what they're doing. Because if an author decides to make a god or an alien or something that doesn't look like a human at all, like let's just say an amorphous blob, like it's an amorphous blob alien, okay? How are you going to convey, but it has intelligence, it has autonomy, it has sentience, it just takes the appearance of a blob. How are you going to convey that thing's like emotional status, because it doesn't have anything in common? No eyes, no mouth, no ears, no arms, no nothing. So the author would literally have to create a new concept for this alien, how it expresses its emotions, the mechanism on how that works, and then convey that mechanism to the reader, to the audience, and it's just a lot more work. It's a lot more work rather than just like having an alien that, like Piccolo is a Namekian, green skin, antenna, ears, but, he looks angry, he looks sad, he looks compassionate, he looks stoic, that kind of stuff, right? And this is leading back to One Piece. I'm just giving you a setup here. Okay. If you were going to picture Oda drawing the literal goddess of the ocean, if Oda was going to have Mother Ocean or Mother Sea or Mother Nature in One Piece as a human-esque being, okay, like an anthropomorphized human being, okay, how do you think she would look, right? Well, like, you would probably picture, okay, she would be wicked hot. I mean, she would be absolutely drop dead. Let's just be straight up here. This is One Piece. It is still manga and anime. Let's be honest here. So I'm picturing someone very high class, very tall lady wearing like a blue dress, you know, with like maybe like different, like a starfish brooch, or maybe like a starfish like a hair clip or something in her hair, you know, something of that nature. Maybe she pearls, you know, because like, you know, mother of pearl and stuff like that. Maybe she has like pearls for like you know, her rings, or like a pearl lined dress, and it's all blue, and her hair is blue, and it's just kind of swirling and things like that. It's One Piece, so of course she's gonna have huge boobs. I mean, she's Mother Ocean, all right? Mother Ocean is going to have big boobs. I mean, come on now. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. In the context of anime, absolutely. That's already a foregone conclusion. All right, but that's the being that's been anthropomorphized as a human, okay? It's like, I am the goddess of the sea. Hello there, Monkey D. Luffy. I wanted to have a discussion with you, you know, because you are the sun god now, you know, something like that, okay? Oda could do that. I'm sure he could spin that in a way that would be really interesting, but there's another way to go about this, and I think this other way would make the themes of One Piece, it would just fit more with the themes of willpower and desire and ambition and all that kind of stuff. What if Oda literally keeps it with not being an actual god, like a god that's like sitting around on a throne, like, I am the god of the sea. You know, nothing like that, but literally the ocean as just a force of nature having a degree of sentience. It doesn't have a physical form. The physical form is the ocean. That's it. That's where it begins and ends. It doesn't take the form of a beautiful woman. It doesn't take the form of a super ripped muscular guy like Poseidon or something like that. It doesn't take any kind of forms that is even similar to a human being, okay? Or any kind of like minx or anything like that in the One Piece world. It is just the ocean. But the ocean has a degree of sentience, which kind of goes along with Vegapunk's logic of his theory. And remember, it was, people brought that up to me too. You know what, Tekking? This is just Vegapunk's theory. You know, he has yet to confirm this. It might actually be something completely different. I think Oda's giving us something to go on here. Maybe Vegapunk might not be 100% correct, but the basis for this, I think, will be actually what the twist will be, but I guess we'll see. Or Oda's just trolling us, and Vegapunk's like, he's like, this is what I think it is, and then they find out how devil fruits are really created, and it's like, I was completely wrong. Quasar. Well, that's the scientific method for you. Gotta find out a new theory. There you go. You know, okay, or a new hypothesis, I should say. So, what if it's a thing where the ocean does have sentience and is aware that the devil fruits around the world are unnatural, and the devil fruit users need to be punished in some way, and so that way every time a devil fruit user falls in the water, this collective consciousness of the ocean drags them down, okay? It's not about them not being able to swim, which is usually the way that devil fruit users' weakness are described, like they cannot swim. No, it's not that they cannot swim. When they touch the water or any kind of liquid, it doesn't have to be seawater, it could be fresh water, it could be any kind of standing liquid if it's up high enough. And that's where I mean, like, it goes beyond just the ocean, okay? It's beyond that. It's like if you have fresh water or any liquid like orange juice, you have orange juice, and orange juice is like if Luffy got dropped in a giant vat of orange juice, he would be weakened just the same way as he would be in the actual ocean, okay? So it's like the dominion over any kind of liquid. That's what it embodies. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because the water has to come from a natural source. Even orange juice, you know, is that. Where did the water in the orange juice come from? Eventually the ocean, you know what I mean? People have also thrown out ideas like, what about things that aren't technically liquid? Like I saw something the other day where somebody mentioned oil. And that was something that actually gave me pause and made me think about that for a second, because oil is not the same as water. In fact, it's, you know, water is not soluble in oil, or oil is not soluble in water. You know, it's not a liquid in that context. So I don't even know if it is a liquid at all. I don't know even what oil is considered. What the hell is oil considered? Hold on. I'm just gonna type in oil in Wikipedia and see where we get oil. Viscous. Oh, wait, no. An oil is a nonpolar chemical substance that is composed primarily of hydrocarbons and is hydrophobic, does not mix with water, and lipophilic, mixes with other oils. Okay, so it's a substance, a chemical substance. It's not a liquid at all. So yeah, I don't think that would work. but it's never been tried, I guess, so we'll see. So it might be some kind of force, like the raw force of nature. Whenever a devil fruit user falls in the water, it's just like the force of nature is like it's like some kind of magnetic force in a way, where it's just like, I will drag you down. You have all this power, and it will be, your energy will be taken from you when you touch the water. When you fall deep enough into the water, it will be drained away from you because devil fruits are inherently unnatural. It might be this existence where maybe it's like skirts on the degree of calling the ocean living or not living. It brings that into question. I wouldn't even want it to be able to communicate the same way that humans communicate. Like, let's say Luffy falls in the water or something, and like he hears a voice like, "Monkey D. Luffy, I am the ocean. I will take away your powers." That would seem rather cheesy to me. I wouldn't want it. Like, if the ocean does have a degree of awareness on its own, it probably would not communicate in the same way that a human would. It wouldn't do telepathy. I might not even have like the concept of language in that regard. It might communicate through other ways, like emotion, which I think would be fitting more with like the themes of One Piece, communicating more with just like Luffy senses the emotion or something of the ocean. Like there's something rageful in there, and maybe all devil fruit users feel that to a degree. Like when you eat a devil fruit, I don't think it's ever been expressly stated. Then again, there's over 1,060 chapters of One Piece, almost 1,070 now, so it might have been mentioned at one point. But has it ever been like really mentioned that when a devil fruit user eats the fruit and then encounters the sea, did they get like negative vibes off of it? Like, if I fall into that, I'm not coming out. If I fall into that, I'm going to be completely drained. Like, it's going to take my energy away from me, and I'm going to drown if I fall into the ocean. Do all devil fruit users just inherently feel that? As like them becoming a devil fruit user has now given them awareness to the sentience of the ocean, something that normal humans would not experience at all. Like Nami wouldn't feel anything at all, but maybe Luffy, maybe not even like, maybe not overtly, maybe not like the ocean's evil, but maybe just like a subconscious thing that's like speaking to him like, don't go in the water. Like, okay. And he just like inherently, not even he's aware he's doing it, just subconsciously like avoids it as much as he can. Okay. And once again, I don't know if that was ever really been explained. I don't think it is. All devil fruit users, like, it's common knowledge that devil fruit users can't swim, but is it common knowledge because it's been tested true and it's like the documents are out there and everybody knows about it? Or is it common knowledge because whenever somebody eats a devil fruit, they instantly know, I'm not going to be able to swim anymore? Like that, it's not even something that they question. It's just like, the ocean is now evil. The ocean is my enemy. Or maybe not evil, but the ocean is my enemy. Okay, I cannot go near it, or I can't go in it, okay, without repercussions. Okay, maybe it's something of that. Maybe not like overall, just like a little subconscious thing, a little voice in their head, something of that nature. But yeah. It would be a lot more difficult to write it in that way, but I think Oda is up for the task. I think he could make it work in that way, because it's like, I don't know, like Oda doing the whole like, okay, she's Mother Ocean and she shows up, she's got the cool dress and boobs and everything like that, and she's like really cool and collected, and she's like, I am the Mother Ocean, I despise devil fruit users. It just, I don't know, it takes it to a degree where it's like, okay, this god is obviously going to have major, maybe like some kind of ego or something like that. Obviously not an altruistic god in this context. We're talking about some kind of egotistical god, and then obviously maybe through those faults they're going to be beaten. I feel like a god in this context should not be able to be bested in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? It's like physically like punching out a god, I think, is a little bit too on the nose with this, and that's why I would like an Oda not to go with it. One more thing I wanted to mention before we get to octopus facts, which also involves the ocean. That's another way Oda could do it. The goddess of the ocean turns out to just be an octopus. It's just a giant octopus. I'd be okay with that. But something else I wanted to bring up. Vegapunk says, the unnatural status of devil fruits is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature. That's the official viz. So when you think of nature, you think of more than just the ocean, right? You think of everything. You think of nature. You think the ocean. You think mountains. You think trees. You think, all that kind of stuff, right? And specifically, though, here, Vegapunk mentions the ocean. And it might be because, the ocean is where all life sprang from. Even our planet at some point was just like a giant, super ocean, a giga ocean, as it were. And then, land slowly emerged out of the ocean because of like volcanic eruptions and shit like that, right? So, if everything kind of originates from the ocean, you could see like why the ocean would be encompassing all of nature. But then if you think of nature, it's definitely not referring to nature in the idea of the trees, the mountains, and everything, because obviously the only thing that opposes devil fruit abilities in that way is the ocean. Or liquids more broadly, but the ocean, okay? And then you wouldn't have devil fruits like Aramaki's Mori Mori no Mi that literally embodies Mother Nature in another context, like Mother Earth. Actually, like, I could control trees, So it's nothing like that. It's really, I think, just the embodiment of the ocean as a concept, as liquid, or all water eventually comes from the ocean. So that's why even like if it's soda, cola is technically part of the ocean. Everything is part of the ocean if it's a liquid, and that's the thing that opposes devil fruit's power, whether it be from some highly intelligent sentience in a being that looks like a human, or just like a raw, like maybe not even like a true consciousness, just devil fruit users unnatural, like must oppose them, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's that video. Hope you enjoyed, I guess. Moving on to, what are we doing today? Oh, yes. This is a good one. Octopus facts. Go. Octopus facts. Okay. Today we're talking about the coconut octopus. You put the lime in the coconut and mix it all up. You put the octopus in the coconut and mix it all up. No, seriously, it's an octopus that literally just uses coconuts. They live in the Western Pacific and in the Indian Ocean, kind of in the shallow depths there. So yeah, the octopus will collect discarded coconuts if they're on the beach or kind of floating around, and they'll hide inside of the husk of the coconut, okay? They'll also use the coconut as a shield or as a weapon. It kind of reminds me a lot of like Pokemon that have certain weapons, like Kadabra and Alakazam have the spoon, like there's certain Pokemon that just have an item with them, like Tinkaton in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just has a hammer made out of, I think, the dead bodies of B-Sharps and Corviknights. But it's kind of like this, where the octopus are really intelligent, so they're going to utilize tools. They're like, oh, there's an there's a coconut up there. I'm going to grab it and use it. I am now an octopus knight, which I think, isn't there a Pokemon that is an octopus knight? I think there is. Anyway, I have a coconut shield, to fight back against the enemy, or I can hide inside the husk, or I can hit things with it, whatever. Oftentimes, octopi will literally use 6 of their tentacles in order to hold the coconut, and then 2 of their tentacles to walk. So they're like bipedal. They'll like be walking on the ocean floor with 2 tentacles while holding this coconut. I keep saying wanting to hold the octopus. Holding this coconut as like a shield, like an umbrella kind of thing, like to protect them. Sometimes you'll see coconuts like bobbing in the water, and it'll just be an octopus using it as like a decoy or like an umbrella, like armor. Like you're just like, oh, nope, nothing to see here. Just a mild-mannered coconut just bobbing in the water. Something like that. So yeah. Goes to show, octopi, very intelligent. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. This will be Tekking, signing out.